Lady Jaina Proudmoore is widely regarded as one of the greatest mages in Azeroth, the most powerful human sorceress alive, but her life story is defined not just by magical prowess, but by sacrifice, leadership, and the burdens of impossible choices. Born to a noble family of proud sailors, Jaina's journey would carry her from the gilded halls of Dalaran to the frozen battlegrounds of Northrend, and from the ruins of Theramore to the dark abyss of the Shadowlands and beyond. This is the dramatic tale of Jaina Proudmoore, the daughter of the sea, a woman whose decisions shaped the fate of nations and whose resolve was tested by war, love, and loss. Jaina Proudmoore was born 3 years before the First War, the middle child of Lord Admiral Dalaran Proudmoore of cool Tiras and his wife Catherine. From a young age, Jaina displayed a voracious love of learning. While raised amidst her family's naval and military traditions, she preferred the company of books in the Proudmoore Keep library, devouring tales of magic and heroism. Her aptitude for magic revealed itself after the Second War, and despite her father's initial protests, Catherine arranged for Jaina to study sorcery in the mage city of Dalaran. At just 11 years old, Jaina journeyed to Lordaeron's capital on her way to Dalaran, where fate introduced her to young Prince Arthas Menethil for the first time. Even as a child, Jaina's gentle heart set her apart. During that trip, Arthas, only a year older than she, sneaked her out to see one of the internment camps holding Orcish prisoners. Unlike Arthas, who viewed the Orcs with bitterness, Jaina felt unexpected compassion for the defeated Orcs, despite knowing the Horde had killed her own eldest brother, Derek, in the war. This empathy would define Jaina's approach to the world. In Dalaran, Jaina flourished. She studied under the Archmage Antonidas, leader of the Kirin, who recognized her as an exceptionally talented pupil destined for greatness. The High Elf Prince Cael'thas Sunstrider grew infatuated with her, but Jaina politely rebuffed him. She was focused on mastering magic on her own merit. In her late teens, Jaina's path intertwined with Prince Arthas again. Arthas courted her in Dalaran, and a tender romance blossomed between the mage and the paladin prince. The two were deeply in love and widely expected to marry. Jaina became like a member of Lordaeron's royal family during her visits, and talk of future marriage filled the courts. However, at a Wintervale ball, Arthas abruptly ended their relationship, deciding they both needed to devote themselves to their duties for the time being. Though heartbroken, Jaina understood his reasoning. They parted amicably, vowing to remain friends as they returned to their responsibilities. This painful but mutual decision marked the end of youthful innocence for Jaina. Darker days were fast approaching. Not long after, whispers of a mysterious plague in northern Lordaeron reached the Kirin. Now a confident archmage in training, Jaina was sent by Antonidas to investigate the plague alongside Prince Arthas, her former love and steadfast friend. Together, they uncovered a nightmare. The grain distributed to villages was tainted by Kel'Thuzad's cult of the damned, transforming innocent people into the undead scourge. Jaina and Arthas fought side by side through one horrific battle after another as the plague spread. In the village of Brill and then Hearthglen, they faced waves of undead, rekindling a close camaraderie under strain. But as the crisis escalated, Arthas began to spiral. He became obsessed with stopping the plague at any cost. This culminated in the infamous culling of Strathome. Arthas resolved to purge the city's population after discovering they were infected and doomed to turn into undead. Jaina stood at Arthas' side at Strathome's gates and watched in horror as he gave the order to slaughter the townsfolk. "This entire city must be purged," Arthas proclaimed. Stricken by the brutality of the act, Jaina refused to participate. "I can't watch you do this," she whispered, turning away with tears as Arthas strode forward to execute his grim plan. Along with Uther the Lightbringer, Jaina abandoned Arthas rather than be complicit in the massacre. It was a decision that saved her soul, but it meant leaving the man she loved to descend alone into darkness. In the aftermath, Jaina was approached by a mysterious prophet who had been warning of an apocalypse. He would later be revealed as the last guardian, Medivh. He urged Jaina to gather the survivors of Lordaeron and flee west across the sea, far from the Scourge's onslaught. With Arthas lost to his vengeance, soon to pursue the undead to Northrend, Jaina chose to heed the prophet's warning. She rallied as many refugees as she could save and led a great exodus across the Great Sea. Thus, Jaina Proudmoore became the leader of Lordaeron's survivors, guiding her people in search of a new hope on the forgotten continent of Kalimdor. Reaching Kalimdor after a perilous voyage, Jaina established a foothold for the human refugees, but Kalimdor held its own dangers and destinies. Almost immediately, Jaina's forces clashed with Thrall's Orcish horde, which had also travelled to Kalimdor seeking a new homeland. Old hatreds flared until a greater threat forced itself into view. The Burning Legion's invasion had begun. Guided by Medivh's prophetic vision, Jaina realized the mortal races must band together or be consumed by the Legion's wrath. In an extraordinary turn, Jaina struck an alliance with Warchief Thrall and Cairn Bloodhoof of the Tauren. Alongside the native Night Elves led by Malfurion and Tyrande, they formed a desperate coalition. On the slopes of Mount Hyjal, Jaina Proudmoore stood with former enemies as one of the last defenders of Azeroth. Her magic reinforced the united armies in the apocalyptic Battle of Mount Hyjal, buying time for the Night Elves' final gambit. Together, they witnessed Archimonde and the Legion defeated by the sacrifice of Nordrassil and its guardian wisps. The victory was costly. Jaina's base on Mount Hyjal was the first to fall to Archimonde's onslaught, and she barely escaped death by teleporting away at the last moment. Yet against all odds, the united front held. The Third War ended with the Burning Legion routed. In its wake, the humans who had followed Jaina across the ocean looked to her for leadership. In the rich marshlands of Kalimdor's eastern coast, Jaina founded Theramore Isle as a new city-state for the survivors of Lordaeron. She pledged Theramore to the rekindled alliance, led by King Varian Ryn of Stormwind, even as she maintained an uneasy peace with Thrall's new horde. Little did she realize that the greatest test of that peace would come from within her own family. Theramore grew into a bastion of humanity on Kalimdor's shore. As its ruler, Lady Jaina worked to secure harmony between her people and the neighboring horde. But in the aftermath of the Third War, not everyone shared her hopeful vision. Word eventually reached Cool Tiras of Jaina's alliance with the Orcs at Mount Hyjal. Grand Admiral Jaina Proudmoore, Jaina's father, had survived the Second War and remained fiercely committed to eradicating the Orcish menace. Upon learning his daughter was sheltering the Horde's new nation, the aging admiral sailed a fleet to Kalimdor, determined to reclaim the land and crush the Horde once and for all. Daelin's sudden arrival caught Jaina off guard. The admiral's forces occupied Theramore and treated the Orcs in Durotar as mortal enemies, inciting new conflict. Jaina loved her father dearly, yet she had seen the Orcs' capacity for honor in the fight against the Legion. She knew that Daelin's bloody-minded crusade would only rekindle pointless war. In a wrenching test of loyalty, Jaina chose peace over family. She refused to aid her father's campaign and secretly aided Warchief Thrall's champions, led by the half-ogre Rexxar, in infiltrating Theramore. At Jaina's urging, the city's defenses were deliberately lowered. The Horde broke through and a battle erupted in Theramore's throne room. There, Admiral Proudmoore met his end at the blades of the Horde champions as his daughter looked on in sorrow. Jaina's last words to her father were a tearful question. Why wouldn't you listen? Daelin Proudmoore died as he'd lived, a proud warrior, unwilling to compromise, and Jaina was left to pick up the pieces. When news reached Cool Tiras that their revered Lord Admiral had been slain by the Horde with Jaina's apparent consent, the nation was outraged. Cool Tiras withdrew from the alliance in fury and fell into isolation, cursing Jaina Proudmoore as a betrayer of her blood. The other human kingdoms, busy with their own troubles in Lordaeron, offered Cool Tiras little support or sympathy for Daelin's uncompromising aggression. Thus Jaina bore the weight of her father's death and her country's hatred as the cost of preventing a new war. It was a heartbreaking decision, but it brought a fragile peace on Kalimdor. In the years that followed, Jaina remained in Theramore as its sole ruler, guiding the tattered remnants of the Alliance in Kalimdor and striving to reunite distant human kingdoms. She also sought to foster understanding with the Horde whenever possible. About 3 years of wary calm ensued between Theramore and Orgrimmar. Jaina even corresponded civilly with Warchief Thrall, attempting to resolve minor skirmishes and misunderstandings before they escalated. One such crisis arose in the novel Cycle of Hatred. A demon masquerading as an advisor stoked conflict between Theramore and the Horde. Jaina teamed up with the former Guardian Egwin to uncover and defeat the Burning Blade demon, after which Jaina and Thrall negotiated a permanent non-aggression pact to keep the peace. Despite mistrust on both sides, Jaina's steady diplomacy and personal friendship with Thrall averted war during this period. During these quiet years, Jaina also became a trusted friend and ally of King Varian Wrynn of Stormwind. She sponsored a summit between Varian and Thrall, hoping to further ease tensions. However, Varian mysteriously disappeared en route to the Peace Conference, a scheme of the Black Dragon Onyxia, and the summit fell apart before it began. Jaina played a role in the search for the missing Varian, eventually helping uncover Onyxia's plot behind his abduction. She even provided safe harbor and aid to Varian, who had been split into two personas, one being the gladiator Logosh, when he washed ashore in Theramore during his trials. Through these events, Jaina's counsel and compassion earned her the enduring friendship of Varian and deep affection from his young son, Prince Anduin Wrynn. Anduin came to regard Jaina as family and even studied basic magic under her guidance in his youth. Jaina's role as a bridge between leaders, advising Varian and mentoring Anduin in the values of peace, showcased her belief that the Alliance and Horde could coexist without bloodshed. The tenuous peace Jaina helped maintain would soon be shattered by events in Northrend. The undead Scourge and their master, the Lich King Arthas, became an imminent threat to all Azeroth. The Alliance and Horde launched major campaigns to assault the Lich King's stronghold in Icecrown. For Jaina, this conflict was deeply personal. Arthas Menethil, once the brave prince who had loved her, was now the Lich King, a tyrant enthroned atop the Frozen Throne. Despite everything that had happened, a part of Jaina still believed Arthas's humanity might be reached. She joined the Alliance expedition to Northrend as a leader and an expert in the arcane, determined to see the Scourge defeated, and to face the fate of the man she once adored. Jaina's commitment to peace was tested early in the war. At the Battle of Angrifar the Wrathgate, betrayal struck. The Forsaken apothecary Putris unleashed the deadly Blight Plague on both Alliance and Horde troops, killing thousands, including High Lord Bolvar Fordragon. King Varian Wrynn, enraged by what he saw as Horde treachery, led an assault to retake the Undercity from the rogue Forsaken. There, Varian and Thrall nearly came to blows once Putris was defeated. Varian, grieving Bolvar and seeing the gruesome experiments in Undercity, lost all faith in the Horde's honor and attacked Thrall in open anger. A catastrophic battle was moments away, but Jaina intervened. Refusing to allow open war to erupt, Jaina froze both Varian and Thrall in their tracks with a powerful spell of ice. In that frozen moment, she teleported the entire Alliance strike force out of the Undercity, diffusing the confrontation before it could spark a new war. This act exemplified Jaina's role as the voice of reason. Even as tensions flared and swords were drawn, she would rather risk angering her own king than see the Alliance and Horde needlessly slaughter each other. Though Varian was furious at being thwarted, Jaina's intervention likely prevented a full-scale faction war from igniting in the middle of the Northrend campaign. As the offensive against the Lich King progressed, Jaina focused on the greater threat. In Icecrown Citadel, she personally led a small strike force into the Frozen Halls to find a way to reach Arthas. In the Halls of Reflection, Jaina was confronted by haunting echoes of the past, a lingering remembrance of Arthas as the young prince in happier days. She discovered Arthas's old human blade, Frostmourn's shattered remnants, and for a moment, the facade of the Lich King seemed to falter. But ultimately, the Lich King appeared in all his wrath, dismissing Jaina's pleas and nearly killing the strike team. Jaina and her companions barely escaped, driven out by an onslaught of undead as the Lich King taunted her. It became agonizingly clear to Jaina that the Arthas she loved was truly gone, consumed by the Lich King. Any hope of redeeming him had died at Stratholme long ago. With a heavy heart, she steeled herself for the inevitable end. That end came atop Icecrown Citadel, where High Lord Tyrion Fordring and Azeroth's champions finally defeated the Lich King. Jaina was not present at the exact moment of Arthas's death. She had been evacuating survivors from the battle, but she arrived in time to see the aftermath. In a somber scene, Jaina knelt beside the lifeless body of Arthas Menethil, a final goodbye to the bold, kind prince she had once envisioned a future with. She claimed a memento from his body, a locket containing a photograph of themselves from gentler days, which Arthas had kept even as the Lich King. "At least now you are free," Jaina said softly, as she wept over Arthas, hoping that in death his tormented soul might find the peace that eluded him in life. This moment of grief and closure would stay with Jaina for years. The fall of the Lich King ended one of the darkest chapters of her life, but also shattered the last vestiges of the girl who had loved Arthas. Jaina emerged from Northrend stronger and more resolute, but carrying yet another scar on her heart. In the aftermath of the Lich King's fall, Jaina returned to rule Theramore, hoping for a time of healing. The world, however, was soon upended by Deathwing's Cataclysm. As Azeroth shattered and elementals ran wild, Jaina remained a pillar of stability. She participated in diplomatic efforts to prevent all-out faction war, even as global calamity loomed. In one notable incident just before the Cataclysm, Jaina hosted a peace summit in Theramore between Alliance and Horde leadership, chronicled in the novel The Shattering. Tragically, the Twilight's Hammer cultists sabotaged the gathering, inciting violence that left several attendees dead, including one of Jaina's close friends and bodyguards, the Night Elf Pained. Jaina was devastated by the loss, and furious that extremists had once again derailed a chance at peace. Despite this setback, she continued to urge King Varian Rin toward diplomacy where possible, counseling him not to let rage consume him as it had Arthas. Varian respected Jaina immensely. She had helped reunite him with his son and reclaim his throne during the Onyxia affair, and he often took her advice to heart during this era. With Anduin's encouragement, Varian grew into a more balanced leader, and Jaina's influence was a significant part of that growth. Even as Deathwing was defeated and the world began to recover, tensions between the Alliance and Horde remained high. A new war chief in Orgrimmar, Garrosh Hellscream, adopted an aggressive expansionist stance that worried Jaina deeply. She met secretly with Thrall, who had stepped down as war chief to focus on the Earthen Ring, to implore him to rein in Garrosh's hostilities. Unfortunately, Thrall was on a new path and could not intervene in Horde politics. Jaina's instincts proved correct. Garrosh's horde began encroaching on Alliance territories in Kalimdor. An open war loomed on the horizon if nothing changed. The tension broke in the year following Deathwing's fall. Garrosh Hellscream launched a brazen military campaign to secure Kalimdor for the Horde, and Theramore was target number one. In the novel Tides of War, dark tidings reached Jaina. The Horde, led by Garrosh, was marching on Theramore with overwhelming force. Recognizing the imminent threat, Jaina frantically prepared the city's defenses and called in every ally she could. Forces from Stormwind, Ironforge, Darnassus, even a detachment of Kirin Tor mages led by Archmage Ronin, all came to Theramore's aid at her request. Her new friend, the blue dragon Kaligos, also arrived to help after the Blue Flight's Focusing Iris, a powerful arcane artifact, was stolen by the Horde. Despite her dread, Jaina believed Theramore could withstand the siege with these combined defenses. The Horde offensive arrived and was initially repelled, but it was all a ruse. Garrosh had set a trap to wipe out the Alliance's best and brightest in one strike. As Theramore celebrated pushing back the first assault, the Horde unleashed their true weapon, a mana bomb, infused with the stolen Focusing Iris, dropped straight into the city. The result was utter devastation. In one fiery instant, Theramore was obliterated in a massive arcane explosion. The blast annihilated the city and everyone in it. Soldiers, citizens, and many of Jaina's dearest friends. Ronin, leader of the Kirin Tor, sacrificed himself at the last moment to push Jaina through a portal, saving her life at the cost of his own. When the smoke cleared, Theramore was nothing but a charred crater. The destruction of Theramore, as it came to be known, was one of the most devastating and horrifying assaults in modern history. Jaina regained consciousness amid the ruins, alive but forever changed. She emerged to a scene of unspeakable horror. The once bustling port town reduced to a smoking crater of violet ash. Nearly all of her once fair golden hair had been bleached shock white by arcane radiation and trauma. Stumbling through the rubble in shock, Jaina found the remnants of her apprentice and dear friend, a young gnome mage named Kindi. The mana bomb's arcane energy had crystallized Kindi's body into fragile purple dust. When Jaina touched her friend's shoulder, the gnome's body crumbled away into glittering powder in Jaina's hands. That harrowing sight, the loss of an innocent protege who had looked up to her, shattered Jaina's spirit. In that moment, something inside Jaina snapped. All the years of advocating peace, all the mercy she had shown the Horde, it suddenly felt like ash and betrayal. Grief and fury overtook her. Surrounded by the corpses of those she loved, Jaina Proudmoore was filled with a cold, vengeful wrath, the likes of which she had never known. When a few looting Horde soldiers crept into the ruins, Jaina unleashed her fury upon them, obliterating the intruders in a barrage of lethal spells without a second thought. Compassion was eclipsed by vengeance. In the epicenter of the arcane destruction, Jaina found the intact focusing iris, the artifact Garrosh had used to obliterate her home. She claimed it for herself, seething with the thought of turning the Horde's own weapon against them. Theramore's fall transformed Jaina Proudmoore utterly. Her blue eyes now glinted with an icy rage, and the once diplomatic Lady of Theramore became a woman bent on punishing the Horde for its atrocities. As news of Theramore's fate spread across Azeroth, the Alliance rallied for all-out war. Jaina, however, had her own plan for retribution, one that would bring her to the brink of becoming the very thing she hated. Jaina teleported to Stormwind in the aftermath of Theramore's annihilation, carrying the horrifying news to King Varian. She urged Varian to launch an immediate and uncompromising counterattack on Orgrimmar. Her demeanor had changed. Where once Jaina counseled restraint, now she pressed for total war, even hinting at extreme measures. Varian, while enraged by Theramore's loss, cautioned against rash action. The Alliance needed to regroup, and he refused to employ dishonorable tactics or wholesale slaughter, not even against Garrosh. Prince Anduin, witnessing Jaina's simmering fury, gently reminded her of the Alliance's values and the difference between justice and revenge. But Jaina would not be deterred. Frustrated by Varian's measured approach, she left Stormwind and returned to Dalaran, the neutral mage city, where she still held a position on the Kirin Tor's Council of Six. In Dalaran, Jaina strode into the Violet Citadel with a singular purpose. She demanded the Kirin Tor mages take action against the Horde for what happened at Theramore. Ronin, Dalaran's leader, was dead, killed in the Theramore blast, and the council was hesitant. They sympathized with Jaina's loss and agreed Garrosh must answer for his crimes, but destroying Orgrimmar was not something the Kirin Tor could sanction. Dalaran had been neutral in the conflict, and many council members feared that using the city's power to rain destruction on the Horde would make them no better than the enemy. They also worried such an act would kill countless innocents who had no hand in Theramore's bombing. When the council refused to turn Dalaran into a flying weapon of war at her command, Jaina decided to take matters into her own hands. In the Kirin Tor archives, Jaina unearthed a hidden tome left behind by Antonidas, containing research on controlling and augmenting arcane elementals. With the stolen focusing iris amplifying her power, she devised a terrible plan. She would summon a massive tidal wave of water elementals to drown Orgrimmar. If the Horde wanted to unleash mana bombs on cities, she would respond by literally washing Orgrimmar off the face of the world. In her grief-addled state, Jaina saw this as just retribution. She sailed to the coastline near Orgrimmar, taking the iris to Theramore's wreckage first to hide her preparations from prying eyes. At the abandoned isle of Frey Island, just south of Orgrimmar's harbour, Jaina began an incantation of apocalyptic proportions. Calling on the focusing iris, she started summoning an immense tsunami, a towering wall of enchanted water teeming with vengeful water elementals, aimed directly at Orgrimmar's walls. As the sea rose at Jaina's command, the elements themselves recoiled in fear. Thrall, now acting as a shaman of the Earthen Ring, felt the distress of the water spirits and rushed to intervene just as Jaina's spell neared completion. He arrived on the shores of Durotar to find a sight he could hardly believe. Jaina Proudmoore, eyes blazing and hair white as snow, wielding the focusing iris at the heart of a colossal cyclone of water. "Jaina, stop!" Thrall pleaded, realizing that if her tidal wave crashed upon the city, it would kill everyone, Horde and Alliance alike, in a catastrophic flood. But Jaina's heart was hardened. She snarled that the Horde deserved to drown for its crimes and lashed out at Thrall with a blast of arcane power, nearly killing the orc who had once been her friend. A fierce magical duel erupted on the coastline. Thrall summoned gale force winds, straining every fibre of his being to hold back Jaina's deadly wave, while also fending off her furious attacks. Even the world's foremost shaman found himself overmatched by Jaina's iris-fueled might. She was on the verge of striking Thrall down while the towering wave churned behind her, moments from slamming into the city. Salvation came in the form of Kaligos, the blue dragon, who arrived in the nick of time. Kaligos, who had grown close to Jaina in the weeks before Theramore's fall, implored her to see reason. He spoke of his own pain, the blue dragonflight's near extinction, and the loss of his great love, Anvina, and how vengeance would only breed more sorrow. Thrall, still gasping as he held back the sea, added that if Jaina went through with this act, she would be remembered as a monster no different from Garrosh. A thief, a coward, a butcher, just like the Horde warchief who stole the iris and obliterated Theramore. But it was Kaligos' anguished cry that truly pierced Jaina's rage. He reminded her of Arthas Menethil, how Arthas had once believed his slaughter at Stratholme was right, and how that self-righteous path led him to become the Lich King. Was Jaina about to follow in those same bloody footsteps? Even Arthas, Kaligos pointed out, had not annihilated a city in a single instant. His horror at Stratholme was drawn out, blade by blade. What Jaina now contemplated was swifter, but no less devastating. Those words struck Jaina like a bucket of cold water. Suddenly, she saw herself, hovering above Orgrimmar like an avatar of wrath, about to unleash indiscriminate carnage. The horror of it cut through her anger. In a moment of clarity, Jaina realized this path would damn her soul and dishonor the very friends she sought to avenge. This was not who she was. Overwhelmed with emotion, Jaina released the spell. The colossal tidal wave dissipated back into the sea with a crash as Jaina stood down, trembling. "I will fight your horde, Garrosh," she said bitterly, addressing the absent warchief through Thrall. "But I will not become a murderer. I will not slaughter innocents. I am not you." In that instant, the proud and vengeful daughter of the sea stepped back from the brink of becoming a monster. Jaina's decision saved not only Orgrimmar's civilians, but also Alliance lives. Unbeknownst to her, an Alliance fleet was en route to assault Orgrimmar at that very moment. If her wave had hit, it would have obliterated her allies at sea along with the Horde's ships. Shaken by how close she came to a terrible mistake, Jaina instead turned her power towards salvation. Using the focusing iris, she summoned a host of water elementals to neutralize Garrosh's enslaved krakens that were attacking the Alliance fleet. Thanks to her intervention, the remnants of the Alliance armada survived. Jaina and the fleet regrouped at Northwatch Hold, breaking the Horde's naval blockade of Kalimdor and providing a foothold for the Alliance's counteroffensive. Jaina had nearly lost herself to hatred, but in choosing restraint at the final moment, she preserved the ideals that had always guided her. In the aftermath of the failed tidal wave, Jaina returned with Kaligos to the ruins of Theramore. There, amid the rubble, she finally allowed herself to mourn. Kaligos found Fearbreaker, the very mace that Bane Bloodhoof had sent to warn Jaina of the Horde's attack. It had been Ronin's parting gift to Anduin. Remarkably, the weapon had survived the mana bomb intact. Seeing Fearbreaker reminded Jaina that there were some among the Horde, Bane, for instance, who still possessed honor and empathy. As Jaina broke down in tears, Caligos comforted her, and their shared grief drew them even closer. In that quiet moment, Caligos and Jaina's friendship deepened into love. The dragon kissed the sorceress, beginning a gentle romance that would lend Jaina strength in the trials ahead. Ronin's widow, Varisa Windrunner, soon delivered to Jaina a final bequest from her late husband, a chest containing notes by the dragon mage Coriolstras, Crassus, prophesying the rise of a proud lady who would shine like a diamond after a fall from grace. Ronin had believed Jaina was the future of the Kirin Tor. Humbled and wiser after Theramore's tragedy, Jaina asked the Council of Six to let her rejoin the Kirin Tor as a simple member to help however she could. The Council, however, had a different idea. They unanimously elected Jaina Proudmoore as the new leader of the Kirin Tor and Dalaran, succeeding Ronin. It was a role Jaina never sought, but perhaps one she was destined for. Crassus's prophecy had foreseen her rise. With Caligos agreeing to place the focusing iris in Kirin Tor custody for safekeeping, Jaina accepted leadership of Dalaran. In a ceremony not long after the Theramore attack, she stood as the new head of the Council of Six, officially taking on the title of Archmage. The golden-haired girl who once studied in Dalaran was gone. In her place stood a white-haired, steely-eyed woman tempered by war. Jaina's ordeal had fundamentally transformed her. She had survived the tides of war, and from the devastation she emerged both more formidable and less trusting than before. Jaina's ascension to leadership of the Kirin Tor came at a critical time. The Alliance-Horde conflict was escalating into open war across Pandaria, the new land discovered in the south. As Archmage of Dalaran, Jaina pledged the city's support to the Alliance war effort, a sharp departure from Dalaran's traditional neutrality. Many in the Kirin Tor were high elves and humans loyal to the Alliance, but there was also the Sunreaver contingent, blood elf magi, who had been allowed to remain in Dalaran after the Third War. Initially, Jaina kept Dalaran formally neutral, hoping to show it as a beacon of hope for peace where members of both factions could cooperate in pursuit of knowledge, but her patience with the Horde was nearly spent. She warned the Sunreavers that any betrayal of Kirin Tor neutrality would not be tolerated. Unfortunately, that test soon came. During the Pandaria campaign, the Horde Warchief Garrosh sought an ancient artifact known as the Divine Bell. Horde agents, with the secret help of a Sunreaver mage inside Dalaran, infiltrated Darnassus through Dalaran's portals and stole the Divine Bell from the Night Elves. This treachery was the final straw. Upon discovering that Sunreaver members of the Kirin Tor had aided Garrosh's theft, Jaina flew into action. She saw the Horde's hand in this as a betrayal of Dalaran after all she had done to keep the city neutral. Declaring that the Sunreavers had violated the Kirin Tor's trust and neutrality, Jaina initiated the Purge of Dalaran. The Purge was swift and severe. Jaina, with the Silver Covenant, a militant high elf faction led by Varisa, moved to arrest every blood elf in the city. Grand Magister Aethys Sunreaver protested his innocence and loyalty to Dalaran, but Jaina was in no mood to debate. When Aethys's guards raised their weapons, Jaina personally struck them down with lethal spells. A shocking display from someone once known as an advocate of peace. She ordered all Sunreavers expelled from Dalaran. Some surrendered and were hauled off to the Violet Hold prison, while others resisted and were killed in the streets by Jaina's forces. Blood was shed in the halls of Dalaran that day. Aethys Sunreaver himself was captured and imprisoned. Jaina was utterly unapologetic about the Purge. In her eyes, the Sunreavers had betrayed the city by abetting Garrosh, and she responded with zero tolerance. The Purge drove the remaining Seen Dore of Dalaran straight back into the Horde's arms. Any hope of the Blood Elves rejoining the Alliance, an idea Varian had entertained, was dashed by Jaina's hardline actions. When King Varian later questioned the political fallout, Jaina curtly dismissed his concerns as naive. She had come to believe that the Horde would never cease its aggression until it was soundly defeated. The once temperate Jaina Proudmoore had become a hawk for the Alliance. She famously urged King Varian at the end of the siege of Orgrimmar to dismantle the Horde for good while they had the chance. Garrosh was defeated by a joint Alliance-Horde rebellion in Pandaria, and both factions stood in the ruined Orgrimmar throne room. With Garrosh in chains, Varian had the opportunity to end the Horde entirely. Jaina whispered fiercely to Varian that the Horde was broken and now was the time to end the cycle. "They've proven they can't be trusted. Finish them!" Jaina's stance was born of Theramore's bitter lesson and the Sunreaver's betrayal. She truly believed peace could never exist while the Horde remained intact. However, Varian chose a more cautious path, sparing the Horde leadership on the condition that they reform and seek peace. Jaina was bitterly disappointed. As Thrall and Varian brokered an armistice, she turned away, shaking her head. The war had ended, but not on the terms she wanted. Jaina's trust in any Horde redeeming itself was effectively gone. Soon after, Jaina participated in the trial of Garrosh Hellscream in Pandaria, chronicled in the novel War Crimes. There, she initially harbored deep anger, not just toward Garrosh, but toward those she deemed responsible for empowering him. In one heated moment, Jaina confronted Thrall, reminding the Orc that it was he who had made Garrosh Warchief in the first place. She held Thrall partly accountable for Theramore's destruction, since his decision to pass Horde leadership to Garrosh set these events in motion. Thrall, burdened by guilt, accepted Jaina's harsh words. Over the course of the trial, Jaina's wrath toward Thrall cooled, and the two old allies found a small measure of reconciliation in their shared desire to see Garrosh answer for his crimes. Jaina also testified about the theft of the Divine Bell and the Purge of Dalaran, events which the Horde characterized as atrocities. Unyielding, Jaina maintained that it was the Sunreaver's own duplicity that forced her hand. She insisted she had saved lives by acting decisively, preventing Garrosh from acquiring more devastating artifacts. Nonetheless, the trial made Jaina reflect on how endless vengeance could consume even the good guys. When a young Horde dissident, Bane Bloodhoof, gave moving testimony, even acknowledging how Jaina had covertly helped him in the past. She once gave Bane money to help retake Thunder Bluff from the Grim Totem rebels. It reminded the court that Jaina was not without mercy. After Garrosh's trial, which ended with the villain escaping via bronze dragon magic, Jaina returned to Dalaran and resumed her duties as Archmage. Yet her heart was heavy and her opinions hardened. By the time of the Burning Legion's next invasion, Jaina had grown estranged from some of her closest allies. When the Legion invaded and the Alliance and Horde were forced to cooperate for survival, Khadgar, another council of 6-member, proposed to readmit the Horde into Dalaran's ranks for the greater good. The Council of 6 voted unanimously, except for Jaina, to allow Horde mages back into the Kirin Tor, reasoning that against the Legion they could not afford division. Jaina was furious. She could not forgive the Sunreaver's betrayal or the Horde's role in Varian Rin's tragic death at the Broken Shore. Feeling betrayed by her own council, Jaina resigned her leadership of the Kirin Tor on the spot and quit Dalaran altogether. In her view, the Kirin Tor siding with the Horde for the greater good was an insult to Theramore's fallen. Declaring she would fight the Legion alone if she must, Jaina teleported away. From that moment, Jaina Proudmoore vanished from the public eye for a time. She played little direct role in the Legion's defeat, instead working solo missions against demon forces. Some whispered that Jaina had gone rogue or even insane, but in truth she was simply unwilling to set aside her grief and mistrust any longer. For the first time, Jaina walked a lonely path, carrying her pain in solitude. While Jaina was absent, the world changed yet again. The Legion was defeated at great cost, and a new conflict, the Fourth War between Alliance and Horde, ignited when Sylvanas Windrunner burned the Night Elf World Tree, Teldrassil. In this new war, Anduin Wrynn, now King of Stormwind after Varian's death, desperately needed allies. It was at this juncture that Jaina Proudmoore reappeared. After leaving Dalaran, Jaina had finally decided to face the ghosts of her past. Literally. She journeyed back across the sea to her homeland, Kul Tiras, from which she had been estranged since her father's death. Jaina knew that Kul Tiras' powerful fleet could be the linchpin of Alliance naval power, and she wanted to right the wrongs that divided her family. However, her homecoming was anything but warm. When Jaina arrived in Borealis, the capital of Tiras, she placed herself at the mercy of her mother, Lord Admiral Catherine Proudmoore. Tiran citizens eyed Jaina with scorn and fear. In their folklore, a shanty called Daughter of the Sea labeled Jaina as the betrayer who lured Dalaran Proudmoore to his doom. Beware, beware, the Daughter of the Sea, the children would sing, blaming Jaina for the fleet's loss of its proud admiral. And indeed, Catherine was cold to her daughter. Grief had hardened the Proudmoore matriarch, and Lady Ashvane, a scheming noble, whispered poison in Catherine's ear, convincing her that Jaina's return was a threat. Without trial, Catherine had Jaina arrested for treason against Tiras the moment she set foot in Borealis. Jaina accepted this fate with sad resignation, believing perhaps she deserved punishment for her father's blood. Under Lady Ashvane's suggestion, Catherine ordered Jaina exiled to the remote island of Fate's End to face justice. In truth, Fate's End was no mere prison. It was a cursed place where the guilty were sent to Thros, the blighted lands of the dead. Jaina was magically bound and delivered into the hands of the Drost, ancient spirits who sought vengeance against Tiras. In Thros, Jaina was tormented by visions drawn from her deepest fears and guilt. She heard her father Dalaran's voice echoing her childhood nickname, Daughter of the Sea, and accusing her of betraying him. She saw an apparition of her father and even of her lost brother Derek, killed by orcs long ago, denouncing her. The weight of all her regrets pressed down upon her. The citizens of Tiras killed in the wake of Dalaran's war, the friends lost at Theramore, Arthas's fall, Varian at Undercity. All her perceived failures manifested as cruel hallucinations designed to break her spirit. Jaina sank into despair, whispering over and over the shanty's refrain, "Beware, beware, the Daughter of the Sea," as if she agreed that she brought only ruin. But fate had not abandoned Jaina Proudmoore. King Anduin had sent alliance agents to Tiras alongside Jaina, and they refused to let her die. With the help of Tiran loyalists and Jaina's own long-lost brother Tandred, the alliance staged a rescue. They exposed Lady Ashvane's treachery in Borealis, turning Catherine Proudmoore's heart back toward her daughter at last. Lady Catherine realized she had grievously wronged Jaina, listening to Dalaran's vengeful echo instead of her own love for her child. Determined to save Jaina, Catherine and the Alliance heroes entered the eerie realm of Thros. In a climactic confrontation, Catherine helped Jaina break free of the Drost illusion. The spirit of Dalaran in Thros was revealed to be a trick of the malicious Drost king Gorak Tul. With renewed resolve, Jaina picked up her staff and fought. She jeweled Gorak Tul's avatar and banished the Lord of the Dead, shattering the curse of Thros, at least for a time. The darkness lifted, and Jaina stepped out of the blighted lands with her mother at her side. What followed was a tearful reconciliation between mother and daughter on the shores of Borealis. Catherine Proudmoore embraced Jaina, begging forgiveness for having doubted her. Jaina, in turn, finally forgave herself for Dalaran's fate. Her mother's acceptance lifted that burden from her heart. There was no dry eye as the people of Borealis watched Catherine proudly hold Jaina's hand aloft, introducing her not as a traitor, but as a hero returned. The timing was fortunate, for Lady Ashvane, now exposed as a traitor, launched an attack on Borealis with her pirate allies. Jaina leapt to the city's defense, unleashing her magic to repel Ashvane's forces in the siege of Borealis. In the chaos, Catherine entrusted Jaina with an old family heirloom, Dalaran's pendant, a symbol of the Proudmoore Admiralty. Using the pendant as a focus, Jaina worked a miracle that would cement her people's love once more. She summoned the lost Tiran fleet. The legendary ships, which had been scattered and hiding since Dalaran's fall, answered Jaina's call and sailed home just in time to crush Ashvane's assault on the city. With Tiras saved from civil war and foreign manipulation, Catherine Proudmoore formally stepped down and passed her title to her daughter. Jaina Proudmoore was named Lord Admiral of Tiras, assuming her father's mantle with the full support of the Proudmoore Admiralty and the admiration of her people. In a grand ceremony, cool Tiras rejoined the Alliance, pledging their formidable navy to fight against the Horde in the ongoing Fourth War. Before the masses of Boralus, Jaina was hailed as the true daughter of the sea, not a curse, but their savior. The old shanty was finally put to rest. From hated exile to national hero, Jaina's journey in cool Tiras had come full circle. As Lord Admiral, Jaina immediately brought cool Tiras' strength to bear for the Alliance in the Fourth War. She wasted no time making her presence felt. At the Battle of Lordaeron, also called the Siege of Undercity, the Alliance launched an assault to retaliate for the burning of Teldrassil. The fighting in the Forsaken capital was fierce, and the Alliance forces led by Anduin Wrynn were nearly overcome by Blightgas and the cunning of Sylvanas Windrunner. At the darkest moment, Jaina arrived dramatically on the battlefield, sailing in on the deck of a cool Tiran warship lifted into the air by her magic. This awe-inspiring sight reinvigorated the allied troops. Jaina's flying ship blasted away the Blight with arcane winds and shelled the city gates, allowing Alliance forces to press forward. When Sylvanas unleashed the final plague that flooded the ruins, Jaina swiftly teleported Anduin and the Alliance survivors onto her ship, saving them from certain death. Thanks to Jaina's intervention, the Alliance escaped the fall of Lordaeron with minimal losses, though Sylvanas ultimately razed the city in her retreat. This battle marked Jaina's first appearance on the world stage in years, a literal deus ex machina for the Alliance. Many Alliance soldiers cheered at the return of the powerful sorceress. Even Gen Greymane, the grizzled Gilnean leader, nodded in respect and relief. With cool Tiras' fleet back in action, Jaina helped secure dominance of the seas. In the Alliance's ambitious Dalaran raid on the Zandalari Empire, an ally of the Horde, Jaina personally led the naval strike force. The attack succeeded in striking a blow against the Horde's new allies, but the Horde later retaliated. In the Battle of Dalaran's aftermath, the Horde fleet ambushed the Alliance fleet. Jaina chose to stand as the rearguard to ensure her comrades escaped. In a display of tremendous power, Jaina Proudmoore fought off the Horde's champions and their ships almost single-handedly. She conjured ice floes to confound enemy ships, blinked across the water's surface, and unleashed blistering frost magic that nearly froze the sea solid. Ultimately, Jaina was wounded and exhausted by the onslaught, but still she refused to be captured. In a final burst of magic, she encased herself in ice and teleported away to safety, denying the Horde any satisfaction. The battle cemented Jaina's reputation among the Horde as a nearly unkillable adversary. Even a fleet of ships and dozens of fighters could not bring down the Daughter of the Sea. As the war raged, Jaina also became pivotal in a quieter act of heroism. Amid Sylvanas Windrunner's ever more depraved tactics, High Chieftain Bane Bloodhoof, leader of the Tauren, decided to stand against Sylvanas from within the Horde. Sylvanas had raised Jaina's deceased brother Derek Proudmoore as an undead, intending to use Derek as a mind-controlled assassin against the Proudmoore family. Bane was sickened by this dishonorable plan. Risking his life, Bane rescued the Forsaken Derek from Sylvanas' clutches and secretly delivered Derek into Jaina's hands. In a moonlit meeting on the sea, Jaina was reunited with her brother, now a confused, undead man horrified at what he had become. Though startled, Jaina accepted Derek with open arms, promising to help him find his place despite undeath. She was deeply moved by Bane's courage and integrity in returning her brother, knowing it would likely mean his execution for treason. This act did indeed incur Sylvanas' wrath. Bane was arrested and sentenced to die. When Jaina learned of Bane's capture, it stirred something long dormant in her, a willingness to trust individuals in the Horde again. Bane had saved her brother's soul. Now she felt honor-bound to save Bane. Jaina coordinated with King Anduin and other dissenting Horde heroes, namely the young troll Zekan and Saurfang and Thrall, who were starting a rebellion, to mount a rescue mission in the heart of Orgrimmar. In the dead of night, Jaina, alongside Matthias Shaw and Alliance champions, slipped into Orgrimmar's underground chambers where Bane was chained. There they joined Thrall and the Blood Elf leader Theramore, who also opposed Sylvanas by now, in fighting through Sylvanas' dark loyalists. In a tense confrontation, they battled Sylvanas' vampiric champion, Nathanos, and some of the last Sunreaver loyalists seeking revenge on Jaina for the Purge of Dalaran. Jaina held nothing back. Any Sunreaver who tried to stop them faced the full force of her wrath. Ultimately, the Joint Alliance Horde strike team succeeded. Bane Bloodhoof was liberated from the Blood Warlock's ritual that was intended to execute him. As alarms rang, Jaina calmly opened the portal, evacuating the entire rescue team safely to Thunderbluff before Sylvanas' forces could overwhelm them. By saving Bane, Jaina proved that honor and compassion still transcended faction for her when rightly earned. It was a glimmer of the old Jaina shining through the hardened exterior. Shortly thereafter came the war's final act. Varrock Saurfang's rebellion, with Thrall, Anduin, and Jaina all unified, marched on Orgrimmar to depose Sylvanas. On the outskirts of Orgrimmar, the combined Alliance and Rebel Horde army stood at the gates. Jaina found herself fighting alongside Thrall again, for the first time since Theramore, as comrades against a greater evil. She also exchanged respectful nods with Lorthamar and Felisra, the Blood Elf and Nightborn leaders who once opposed her. The moment was not lost on Jaina. At long last, the factions were working together, just as they had at Mount Hyjal so many years ago. Saurfang challenged Sylvanas to Mat Gora, a duel of honor, to avoid a bloody siege. Jaina and the Alliance forces held back to observe. In that fateful Mat Gora, Saurfang fell, but Sylvanas at last revealed her true colors. She openly scorned the Horde as nothing, betraying any loyalty to her own people. Sylvanas fled, and the Horde was free of her tyrannical rule. In the aftermath, an armistice was declared between the Alliance and the new Horde leadership, led by a council including Bane, Thrall, and others. On the ravaged fields outside Orgrimmar, Jaina approached Thrall. The two old friends surveyed the cost of yet another war. Jaina's eyes, once filled with hatred at the mere thought of the Horde, were softer. The threat that bound them, Sylvanas, had been vanquished by their cooperation. As they tended to the fallen like Saurfang, Jaina spoke quietly with Thrall, perhaps reminiscing about how it had come to this and where they would go next. It was a full circle moment. Years ago she had allowed Thrall to kill her own father to preserve peace, and now here they were, picking up the pieces of a peace hard won once again. Jaina's journey from vengeance back to guarded hope was nearly complete. The Fourth War was over. In the celebratory gatherings afterward, depicted in the novel Shadows Rising, Jaina was an honored guest in Thunderbluff, and she even helped broker the formal peace treaties. While some animosity lingered, Jaina's heart had healed enough to see Horde leaders like Bane and Thrall not as enemies, but as partners in maintaining a fragile peace, much as she once dreamed. Just when Azeroth needed respite, a new crisis struck from an unexpected realm. Sylvanas, having fled, enacted a horrific plan to tear open the veil between life and death. Bolvar Fordragon was defeated at Icecrown Citadel and the Shadowlands. The realm of the dead spilled into reality. In a coordinated strike, Sylvanas' agents, the Moorsworn, kidnapped several notable leaders of Azeroth to deliver into the Maw, the darkest corner of the afterlife. Among those taken were Anduin Wrynn, Thrall, Bane Bloodhoof, and Jaina Proudmoore herself. Jaina was meditating in cool Tiras, or perhaps coordinating Alliance defenses, when dark-winged Kirin-like beings seized her. Despite her considerable power, Jaina was overwhelmed by sheer force and dragged into the awful gloom of Torghast, Tower of the Damned. Thus Jaina became a prisoner of the Jailer, the malevolent ruler of the Maw. In Torghast's endless twisting corridors, she endured torment meant to break her will. The Jailer's magic exploited Jaina's mind with hallucinatory torments. At times she was literally chained and burned with sorcerous flames. At other times, it was psychological, perhaps reliving Theramore's destruction or her failures, anything to crush her spirit. But Jaina Proudmoore did not break. If her soul could survive Theramore, it could weather this hell. She held on to hope that Anduin and the others were still alive and that somehow rescue would come. rescue did come in the form of Azeroth's champions, the Warwalkers, the player heroes, and old allies like Bolvar Fordragon. In the Maw of Darkness, Jaina's brilliance helped her hold out long enough for help to arrive. A band of adventurers infiltrated Torghast and found Jaina in chains, enduring fiery torment. When the Warwalker freed her, Jaina was weak but unbowed. She immediately took command of the situation despite her imprisonment, helping coordinate the escape of other prisoners. Reunited with Bane and Thrall, whom the Warwalker had freed first, Jaina navigated the deadly halls with her intimate knowledge of traps and illusions. Together, this unlikely group retraced their steps through the Nightmare Tower. Jaina conjured portals and shields where needed, supporting her injured comrades. At one critical point, a massive gap blocked their escape route. Jaina summoned a bridge of solid ice across a chasm, showcasing that even drained and exhausted, her magic was formidable. The quartet narrowly evaded the jailer's forces and emerged into the relative safety of Oribos, the eternal city of the Arbiter. In Oribos, Jaina rejoiced at seeing some friendly faces, notably the hero who saved her, and Bolvar, who had been aiding the effort from afar. She embraced Bane Bloodhoof, tears in her eyes. They had both feared the worst for each other in Torghast, but their joy was tempered by the grim fact that Anduin Wrynn was still missing, kept behind in the clutches of the jailer. Jaina felt a fierce protectiveness for Anduin, the young king she'd known since he was a child, practically family to her. Though weary from her ordeal, Jaina insisted on returning to Torghast to save Anduin. Thrall and Bane agreed, but Bolvar urged caution and strength gathering first. Jaina chafed at any delay, especially as scraps of intel hinted that the jailer had dark plans for Anduin. Her fears were realized when Anduin emerged sometime later, not as a rescued friend, but as the jailer's unwilling pawn. In a shocking encounter in the Shadowlands, Anduin appeared clad in eerie armor and under domination magic, forced to do the jailer's bidding. Jaina, Thrall, and Bane confronted Anduin in the ancient city of Bastion, where he struck down the Kirin Archon to steal her sigil. Jaina called out to Anduin mid-battle, desperately trying to break through the jailer's control. "Anduin, please, fight this!" Anduin's face showed pain and conflict, but he ultimately could not resist the domination. With a sorrowful glance at Jaina, he departed, leaving her horrified at what had become of the gentle boy she loved like a nephew. This only steeled Jaina's resolve further. She vowed to save Anduin, no matter the cost. Over the ensuing campaign, Jaina played a major role in the Covenant assault on the jailer's forces. She and Thrall journeyed to the fragmented realm of Korthia and beyond, coordinating strategies to weaken the jailer's power and find a way to free Anduin. They succeeded in retrieving key artifacts to craft a countermeasure. During these efforts, Jaina had moments of vulnerability. She quietly admitted to Thrall that, "It will take me some time to recover from what happened in Torghast. I do not wish to speak of it further." The horrors she endured were not easily forgotten. Thrall understood. He too had felt despair in that tower. Their shared trauma in the Maw forged an even deeper camaraderie between Jaina and the former warchief. In the Sanctum of Domination raid, Jaina finally came face to face with Anduin Wrynn as the jailer forced the young king to fight on his behalf. Bolvar, Thrall, Uther, and Jaina all confronted Anduin in the heart of Torghast. In a heart-rending battle, they fought Anduin while trying to break the jailer's hold on him. Jaina's voice rang out over the clash. "We are your friends, Anduin! Fight the darkness!" At the climax, with help from the Archon's sigil and the newly forged Crown of Wills, a relic to resist domination, they managed to free Anduin from the jailer's control. Jaina rushed to Anduin's side as the king collapsed, apologizing that they couldn't save him sooner. Anduin, shaken and guilt-ridden over his enforced actions, was gently reassured by Jaina that none of it was his fault. Her maternal comfort helped Anduin find the strength to carry on. Finally, the time came to put an end to Zovaal the jailer's schemes. Jaina participated in the fight against Sylvanas Windrunner, now also opposing the jailer, and then confronted the jailer himself in the sepulchre of the First Ones. Though the titanic battle against Zovaal was primarily won by the Warwalkers and the reborn Arbiter, Jaina and her allies kept the jailer's forces at bay. With Zaval's defeat, the sky above the Shadowlands cleared. In the aftermath, countless souls that had been damned to the Maw were released to find proper afterlives. One faint, flickering soul in particular drew Jaina's attention, a tiny mote of light that was all that remained of Arthas Menethil. Uther and Jaina together sensed the presence of Arthas' soul as it floated before them, a final echo of the man she had loved and he had mentored. Jaina's face was sorrowful yet resolute. There would be no grand judgment or redemption for Arthas. His essence was so degraded by evil that only this wordless spark remained. As it slowly faded away, Jaina whispered a soft goodbye. "Nothing of Arthas remains, only a tormented soul without form," she observed quietly, eyes moist. "At last, he's been judged by the one true arbiter." She hoped that in that final dissolution, Arthas found a peace that eluded him in life. With that closure, Jaina let go of Arthas at last, the final chapter of that story ending not in fury or despair, but in acceptance. Sylvanas Windrunner, defeated and captured, was sentenced to atone in the Maw for her atrocities. Jaina had little sympathy for the Banshee Queen, but she did not seek further vengeance either. Justice would run its course. Having saved Anduin and seen the end of the jailer's threat, Jaina could finally return home. In Oribos, she and Anduin spoke of the future. The young king was deeply shaken by his time as the jailer's pawn and declared he would take a leave to find himself. Jaina supported his decision, promising him the alliance would stand strong in his absence and that he always had her to call on. She also bid farewell to her friends of the Horde, notably Thrall and Bane, with genuine warmth, promising that the new understanding forged between them in the Shadowlands would not be forgotten. The years following the Shadowlands offered Jaina Proudmoore a brief respite and a chance to help rebuild a world scarred by endless conflict. With King Anduin absent and High Exarch Turalyon serving as regent in Stormwind, Jaina's political acumen became invaluable. She worked closely with alliance leaders to uphold the hard-won peace treaty with the Horde, firmly believing that the cycle of hatred could finally be broken. Thus, when Azeroth's ancient Dragon Isles reawakened, Jaina threw her weight behind a historic joint expedition. Under her guidance, Kultiran vessels and Alliance forces sailed alongside their former enemies, answering the dragon's call in a unified quest to protect Azeroth's future. Though Jaina herself did not immediately journey to the Isles, her influence was felt. As Lord Admiral and one of Anduin's most trusted advisors, she ensured the Alliance's response was swift, coordinated, and crucially, cooperative with the Horde. For perhaps the first time in her life, Jaina saw the glimmers of true unity, a promise that old wounds might finally heal. For a time, Lady Proudmoore remained in cool Tiras and Stormwind, tending to her people and offering arcane counsel from afar. But as reports grew of the primal incarnates, ancient elemental dragons led by the cruel Fyrakk, wreaking havoc on the Dragon Isles, Jaina felt the familiar pull of duty. The tentative peace she'd helped forge was now the greatest weapon against this threat. When Alexstrasza, the Lifebinder herself, sent out a plea for aid, Jaina did not hesitate. She gathered her naval commanders and mages, coordinating reinforcements to sail for the Dragon Isles. Gone was the lone sorceress who once bore burdens in isolation. In her place stood a leader rallying nations together. Jaina knew that the fate of the world was not the dragon's burden alone to bear. Azeroth's strength lies in our unity, she proclaimed to Alliance emissaries and Horde ambassadors alike, and together we shall answer the call of the Dragon Isles. With that, the Lord Admiral set course for the forefront of the campaign, determined to personally see this threat quelled. Her arrival could not have been more timely. In the Emerald Dream, at a fiery battlefield called the Field of Flames, the Night Elf High Priestess Tyrande Whisperwind and former Warchief Thrall stood desperately against Fyrakk's onslaught. With a crack of arcane thunder, Jaina Proudmoore joined the fray at the Alexstrasza's side, alongside many other Alliance and Horde champions. Here was a sight to inspire even the weariest soul. Jaina and Thrall fighting shoulder to shoulder once more, as they had in the Battle of Mount Hyjal so many years ago. She summoned torrents of water and rings of ice to counter the Incarnate's infernos. dousing flames and shattering elementals with relentless focus. At one dramatic moment, Jaina raised her staff and a blizzard swelled forth, quenching a wall of dragonfire about to engulf their ranks. Together with Tyranda's lunar fury and Thrall's earth-shaking shamanism, Jaina's magic turned the tide. The trio carved a path through waves of primalist cultists and raging fire elementals, each trusting the other implicitly, a stark contrast to the distrust that once divided their factions. Jaina's Kirin honed spellwork proved pivotal when the primalists' fiercest lieutenant, the flame druid Ashendir Heartwood, emerged to bar their way. Jaina was among those who dueled Ashendir amid the burning Dreamgrove, matching elemental fire with arcane might. In the end, Ashendir fell, and the combined forces of mortals and dragons pressed on. Jaina's presence on that battlefield ensured that Firerak's final defenses crumbled, clearing the path for the dragon aspects to confront the blazing incarnate. Not long after, Azeroth's champions, aided by Alexstrasza and her kin, vanquished Firerak and saved the World Tree sapling, Amir Drasil. Jaina's contribution to this victory was immeasurable. She had helped unite old rivals, led the Alliance's support, and personally unleashed her formidable power to safeguard the fragile new life at the heart of the dream. In the quiet hours that followed the battle, beneath the newly bloomed boughs of Amir Drasil, Jaina found herself overcome by a swell of emotion. The Emerald Dream's skies had opened into the waking world, allowing the newborn World Tree to take root on Azeroth, and a grand celebration unfurled beneath its verdant canopy. As music and laughter mingled with the evening breeze, Jaina stood apart for a moment, observing Alliance and Horde comrades mingling as friends. This was the vision she had chased for years, peace between the factions made manifest. She reflected on the turbulent path that had led here, the bitter wars, the lost lives, the personal sacrifices. All the while, she had clung to the hope that one day people would stand together as one people of Azeroth. Now, seeing former enemies share drink and song in the firelight, Jaina felt that hope vindicated. With misty eyes, she whispered a prayer that this unity would last, that the hatreds of the past would remain buried for good. Near the base of the great tree, Jaina met Thrall and exchanged a warm embrace. Two old soldiers marveling at how far their world had come. They spoke in hushed tones about the future of their peoples. Both admitted that as Amir Drasil took root, they had each felt a strange presence, a voice whispering at the edges of their minds. Neither could discern its words, yet it did not feel malevolent. If anything, it was as if the world itself was singing. Jaina wondered aloud if it might be Azeroth's own soul, humming a gentle lullaby now that the newborn World Tree was safe. Thrall nodded thoughtfully, the sparks of ancient shamanistic wisdom in his eyes. Whatever the voice was, they agreed it could be investigated later. There would be time for mysteries tomorrow. For now, victory was at hand. With a light laugh, Jaina persuaded Thrall to set aside his worries and rejoin the party. Under the golden leaves of Amir Drasil, the Lord Admiral of Tiras and the former war chief raised a toast to hard-fought peace, celebrating not just the defeat of Firak, but the fellowship that had made it possible. When the festivities finally waned, Jaina slipped away for a breath of solitude and found an old friend waiting for her. Kaligos, the aspect of the blue dragonflight, stood by the glimmering waters of a dream pond, his half-elven visage illuminated by soft emerald light. Jaina's heart swelled at the sight of him. Long ago, amid the ruins of Theramore's fall, Kaligos had been her comfort and confidant, and in quieter days, they had nurtured a deep bond. She greeted him warmly. The blue aspect smiled, and in that moment, despite all the years and hardships, it felt as if they were simply Jaina and Kaligos again, two souls who had found understanding in each other. They spoke of battles and burdens, of the future of dragonkind and humanity. Sensing Jaina's weariness, Kaligos gently invited her to join him on a brief sojourn to the Iskara Tuskar villages in the Azure Span, where he had friends she might like to meet. Jaina agreed readily. A peaceful excursion with the ever-wise Kaligos was a rare gift, and so, in the days following the victory, Jaina Proudmoore walked the icy shores of Iskara with Kaligos at her side. They watched playful Tuscar children sled down snowy banks and shared tales with elder fishermen under the aurora-lit sky. For Jaina, these simple moments, laughing with Caligos, sipping warm soup in a sealskin tent, were a healing balm. After so many crises, the Lord Admiral allowed herself this gentle interlude of normalcy and perhaps the rekindling of a friendship that had once meant the world to her. In Caligos's company, Jaina remembered the woman she was outside of war. A scholar, a friend, even a woman capable of love. It was a brief respite, but one that renewed her spirit. Still, duty was never far from Jaina's mind. Shortly after returning from Iskara, a raven delivered an urgent message from SI7 spymaster Matthias Shaw. King Anduin Rin, the young man Jaina loved like family, had been spotted in Azeroth once more. Specifically, reports placed him wandering the arid plains of the Barrens, alive and seemingly well. Jaina gasped at the news, equal parts joyful and concerned. She recalled their parting after the Shadowlands, the haunted look in Anduin's eyes as he set off to find healing and redemption beyond the public gaze. He had borne so much weight for so long. She of all people understood the need to step away. Knowing he was safe lifted a great burden from her heart. Immediately, Jaina dispatched messengers to ascertain Anduin's condition and gently inform him that he would be welcomed home whenever he was ready. Ever the stateswoman, she also informed Tyrellian and Gen Greymane, preparing the alliance for a hopeful reunion with their king. The prospect of Anduin's return was another sign that the world was slowly mending, and Jaina dared to dream of an alliance whole and strengthened by all that they'd endured. That hope, however, was soon tempered by an eerie phenomenon that swept across Azeroth in the wake of Yggdrasil's blooming. All over the globe, from the greatest cities to the smallest hamlets, people began experiencing visions, hauntingly beautiful hallucinations of golden light and singing, which came to be known as the Radiant Song. Farmers awoke from shimmering dreams of a radiant dawn. Grizzled warriors found themselves humming an unfamiliar lullaby with no idea why. The Kirin sensed the potent magic afoot, but its source and purpose were a mystery. Unsettled by these reports, the archmages of the Council of Six turned to the one person whose wisdom bridged the worlds of alliance leadership and arcane mastery, Jaina Proudmoore. Though she no longer sat on the council, Jaina's reputation as the former leader of Dalaran made her the ideal choice to investigate what many suspected was a magical omen. Jaina accepted without hesitation. Donning once more the mantle of Archmage, she travelled to Dalaran's libraries and took charge of a small research task force. Tirelessly, she interviewed every soul who claimed to have witnessed the Radiant Song's visions. Soldiers, healers, merchants, no matter their race or station, Jaina gave each her full attention, gently coaxing out every detail of what they saw and heard. Days turned into weeks, and the pattern proved elusive. The visions struck randomly, afflicting young and old, horde and alliance, learned mage and common farmer alike. There is no connection between them, Jaina noted with frustration, after reviewing dozens of accounts. Nor could anyone agree on what the visions meant, only that the melody left them awed and uneasy all at once. Night after night in Dalaran's violet citadel, Jaina pored over ancient tomes and consulted with fellow magi. Could this be a Titan signal, a Naru song, or perhaps some clever illusion of a still lurking enemy? The more Jaina pondered, the more a wild, daunting theory took root in her mind. What if the world of Azeroth, its very soul, was trying to speak to them? Before Jaina could confirm her suspicions, fate intervened. One morning, as she prepared to send her latest findings to Archmage Khadgar in Valdrakken, a group of champions, seasoned adventurers Jaina had worked with many times before, arrived in Dalaran bearing astonishing news. They had unraveled the identity of the mysterious Harbinger tied to these visions. According to their discoveries, the Harbinger was Xal'atath, an ancient void entity once trapped in a dark blade. Jaina felt a chill at the name. She remembered Xal'atath as a whispering menace from past campaigns, a being of pure void malice. How it had returned, and what game it now played, was deeply worrying. The champions further revealed that the ethereal traders of Kar Resh, dwellers of a distant fallen world, recognized the radiant song. In fact, they had heard a similar melody just before their planet was consumed by the void. This revelation struck Jaina like a thunderclap. The beautiful, ominous song was not a celebration, it was a warning. Azeroth itself was crying out, much as a living being might cry out in pain or fear. The radiant song was likely the voice of Azeroth's world soul, raised in alarm at Xal'atath's dark purpose. Jaina's wild theory had been correct. The earth was speaking, and its message portended a dire threat. Steeling herself, Jaina immediately conferred with Khadgar via Enchanted Mirror. The old guardian's eyes widened as she explained Xal'atath's involvement and her hypothesis that the Void sought to do to Azeroth what it did to Ka'aresh. "Then we haven't a moment to lose," Khadgar declared. The gentle song echoing in so many minds was Azeroth's alarm bell, and they would need all the wisdom and strength of the world's defenders to answer it. Jaina and Khadgar swiftly formulated a plan. To glean more insight into Azeroth's plight, they would seek out Magni Bronzebeard, the venerable speaker of Azeroth. If anyone could interpret the world soul's cry, it was Magni, the dwarf who had communed with the heart of the planet itself during past crises. Jaina promised to venture to Silithus and find Magni at once, but first, out of respect and necessity, she reached out to Thrall. After all, what they faced was beyond the scope of any one kingdom or city. It was a threat to the entire world. In a quiet conference by enchanted parchment, Jaina informed the orc leader of Xal'atath's return and the truth behind the radiant song. Thrall's response was swift and resolute. The Horde would stand with the Alliance in whatever was to come. With that assurance, Jaina set off to meet Magni, the weight of what she'd learned heavy on her shoulders. As she traveled to the barren wastes of Silithus, where the world soul's chamber lay, Jaina couldn't help but reflect on the road that had led her here. Once, long ago, she had been a lone negotiator pleading for peace. Now she was a linchpin in Azeroth's defense, a leader equally at home in a war council or a mystical conclave. The trials of the Dragon Isles had tested and tempered Jaina in new ways, reaffirming her faith in unity and reminding her of the delicate balance between duty and hope. In the dawning light of a new crisis, Jaina Proudmoore stood at the threshold of yet another chapter. In Silithus, together with Thrall and the long-absent King Anduin Wrynn, Jaina convened at Magni's encampment in the Chamber of Heart, determined to decipher Azeroth's message and confront whatever threat lay ahead. At the Chamber of Heart, Jaina and her companions watched as Magni attempted a ritual to commune with Azeroth, the world soul behind the radiant song. The moment was dire. As visions intensified, Magni suddenly collapsed, overwhelmed by the contact. Acting quickly, Jaina brought Magni to Dalaran for aid. This respite was short-lived. Soon after Magni recovered, the Council of Six relocated Dalaran to the underground realm of Khazal-Gar, where the void entity behind the Radiant Song's warning revealed itself. In a shocking attack, the renegade void creature Xal'atath struck at Dalaran, destroying the city and scattering its survivors. Jaina, once Dalaran's leader, could only watch as her beloved city was reduced to rubble by the Void's power. Rallying quickly, she fought alongside the other survivors against an onslaught of Nerubian creatures allied with Xal'atath, even calling upon Azeroth's heroes to cut down the ambushes and secure a foothold at a place called the Tranquil Strand. Realizing the magnitude of this new threat, Jaina departed for Stormwind to muster reinforcements, resolved that Azeroth's defenders must unite or perish. Jaina and Thrall took the unprecedented step of organizing a joint Alliance Horde summit in cool Tiras. Proudmoore Keep in Borealis hosted a gathering of leaders from both factions in response to Jaina and Thrall's call. There, they forged a plan to strike back at Xal'atath in Khazal-Gar, but first, they needed the might of the Alliance's 7th Legion and the Horde's Kor'kron, elite forces that were tied up in a tense standoff in the Arathi Highlands. Jaina travelled with Thrall and Agra to Arathi, hoping to prevent old hatreds from derailing their united defense of Azeroth. Upon arriving, they found evidence of a recent clash between Alliance and Horde troops, casualties of a pointless skirmish. While Agra went to the Horde outpost of Hammerfall to calm the Mag'har orcs led by Gayara, Jaina escorted Thrall, who had been wounded by a poison arrow, to the human stronghold of Stromgarde. There, she encountered Stromgarde's regent, Maren Trollbane, whose bitterness over past losses made her unwilling to aid Jaina's cause. Maren flatly refused to send Stromgarde's soldiers to help, resentfully citing the kingdom's many sacrifices and rejecting any notion of peace with the orcs. Though Jaina beseeched her to see reason, the regent's distrust ran too deep. She grudgingly gave Jaina shelter for the night, but demanded she depart by dawn, adamant that Stromgarde would not march to Khazalgar. Sensing the volatile situation, Jaina covertly sent word to Stromgarde's true ruler, Danath Trollbane, warning him of Maren's obstinance and the brewing conflict in his absence. Before Danath could arrive, however, Maren took matters into her own hands. Feigning a change of heart, Maren privately met with Jaina and pretended to apologize for her harsh words, only to reveal she had intercepted Jaina's message and viewed it as betrayal. When Jaina refused to support Maren's desire to strike the Horde, urging her instead to forge a pact of friendship with Gayara's Mag'har orcs for their mutual benefit, Maren decided to remove Jaina from the equation. On Maren's order, an assassin struck Jaina with a sleeping poison, knocking her unconscious. Maren would not dare kill the Lord Admiral of Tiras, fearing Alliance reprisal, but she ensured Jaina was out of the way while she led Stromgarde's 7th Legion forces out at dawn to confront the Horde by force. Jaina awoke to the sounds of battle the next morning. The 7th Legion and Stromgarde soldiers had engaged Gayara's orcish Kor'kron at Goshek Farm in a vicious fight, exactly what Jaina had tried to prevent. Despite still reeling from the poison, she rushed to the battlefield, determined to stop the carnage. Drawing upon her considerable magic, Jaina intervened in the midst of combat, generating blizzards and arcane barriers to keep the Alliance and Horde combatants apart and minimize bloodshed. Spotting Maren fanning the flames of war, Jaina confronted the regent directly. The two women battled amidst the chaos until Jaina succeeded in magically isolating Maren, cutting off her ability to command Stromgarde's troops. Her intervention gave Gayara the opening to sound a retreat for the Kor'kron and Mag'har, while the Alliance commanders likewise ordered their forces to hold their fire. By the time Danath Trollbane finally arrived from Stormwind, Jaina had halted the pointless battle. Danath swiftly placed Maren under arrest for overstepping her authority and endangering the fragile peace. Thanks to Jaina's actions, a potential Alliance Horde bloodbath was averted, and at last the two sides agreed to unite their strength against the true enemy. With Maren's coup quashed, the proud 7th Legion soldiers of Stromgarde and the elite Kor'kron orcs stood down from their feud and formed a single strike force under Jaina and Thrall's joint leadership. Jaina's diplomacy, backed by her formidable power, had turned near disaster into an alliance, just as she had long hoped. With their forces combined, Jaina and Thrall led the united army to Khaz-Algar, sailing for the Isle of Dawn, the entry point to that subterranean land. There, the war against Xal'atath and her void-corrupted minions began in earnest. Jaina was at the forefront of the campaign, lending both her strategic leadership and magical prowess to the fight. Early on, she witnessed a heartening development. The Earthen, Azeroth's ancient stone-born dwarven guardians decided to forsake their neutrality and join the battle to save the world. The Earthen formally discarded Old Titan edicts of non-interference and pledged themselves to the fight against Xal'atath and the ravaging Nerubian hordes. Yet this noble act had unintended consequences. It activated a colossal Titan construct buried beneath the Isle, a fail-safe guardian now perceiving the Earthen's free will as a breach of protocol. The giant construct rose against friend and foe alike, threatening to obliterate the Earthen armies. Jaina, ever quick-thinking, confronted the Titan Sentinel head-on. Drawing deeply upon her mastery of the frost arts, she froze the colossal construct in place, buying precious time for the Alliance and Horde champions to regroup and ultimately bring the behemoth down. Jaina's timely heroism saved countless lives, proving once more why she is considered one of the greatest sorceresses of the age. Even as Azeroth's combined forces pushed into Kaz Algar, Xal'atath's minions fought fiercely. The void-infused Nerubians launched an all-out assault on Hallowfall, a key stronghold of the Arathi in the depths. Jaina was among the defenders who rushed to aid Hallowfall when it came under siege. Amidst swarms of spider-like attackers, she coordinated with Alliance commanders and directed seasoned adventurers to strike down the Nerubian leaders driving the assault. Thanks to this united effort, the onslaught was repelled and Hallowfall held, though not without losses. In the aftermath of these battles, Jaina took a brief moment to acknowledge life's small joys, attending a celebratory gathering of the Bronze Dragonflight, and even sharing a humble Wintervale dinner with Anduin Wryn's family, a reminder of what they all were fighting to protect. But the war was far from over, and Jaina's greatest tests in this campaign were yet to come. One of the most painful blows Jaina endured in the War Within was the loss of Dalaran, a city she once ruled and called home. Xal'atath's devastating attack had left Dalaran a crater of floating rubble. In the wake of the city's fall, Archmage Aethys Sunreaver reached out to Jaina for help. The ruins of Dalaran were saturated with erratic arcane energies, interfering with teleportation magics and trapping several mages in unstable portals. Though returning to Dalaran's wreckage was emotionally excruciating, Jaina did not hesitate to assist. She met Kaligos, her trusted friend and former love, amid the debris as they recovered what artifacts they could from the city. Jaina confirmed Kaligos' suspicions that the loose arcane energies were a danger, and warned that dispelling them too quickly might even draw the attention of mana-hungry demons like Fellhunters. Nevertheless, she agreed that rescuing any survivors was worth the risk. While Jaina consulted with Aethys on stabilizing the area for a cleansing ritual, she sent a capable adventurer to free the mage survivors from their arcane prisons. Amid the shattered fragments of Dalaran that had fallen into the ancient Nerubian kingdom of Ashkahet, Jaina uncovered a frightening development. The Void Servants were attempting to use Dalaran's artifacts to recreate one of the deadliest weapons ever unleashed on Azeroth, a mana bomb. To Jaina, this was deeply personal. The Horde's mana bomb attack on Theramore years ago had annihilated her city and forever changed her life. Finding the components of another such bomb amidst Dalaran's ruins nearly shook her composure. The Kirin Tor survivors explained that they had kept the research notes of the Blood Elf mage Fallen Songweaver, notes on how to construct and, crucially, how to disarm a mana bomb, as a safeguard. Some argued that preserving this knowledge had just proven wise, since it might be the key to preventing a second Theramore. Jaina, however, bristled at the very existence of these notes, feeling that such dangerous knowledge should have been destroyed long ago. Setting aside her anger, she swiftly took charge of neutralizing the threat. Drawing on her intimate familiarity with Farlan's work, after all, she had personally apprehended Farlan during the Purge of Dalaran, Jaina guided the adventurer through the delicate process of disarming the mana bomb before it could detonate. As the adventurer carefully dismantled the bomb's arcane matrix, Jaina stood by suppressing its surging energies with her own magic. In the end, they defused the bomb safely. Jaina then ordered the remaining scattered artifacts either destroyed or secured, ensuring no trace of the bomb could be reassembled. When presented with Phelan's notorious research notes, the very blueprint for creating a mana bomb, Jaina took them in her hands and vowed to destroy them herself. In that moment, she resolved that the Kirin Tor would not repeat the mistakes that led to this tragedy. With the immediate crisis in Kaz Algar resolved and Xal'atath's plans thwarted, Jaina turned to the somber task of remembrance and rebuilding. Alongside Archmage Khadgar, Kaligos, Aethys, and the other survivors of Dalaran, she gathered on the tranquil shores to honor those who had fallen in the conflict. In a heartfelt ceremony, they paid tribute to the many heroes and innocents lost, from the mages who perished when the city fell, to the earthen and soldiers who gave their lives battling the void. Jaina herself had now twice experienced the fall of a city she loved, Theramore and Dalaran, but rather than succumb to despair or rage, she channeled her pain into hope for the future. In the aftermath, Jaina and her allies agreed it was time to rebuild the Kirin Tor, not as it was, but as something better. The lessons of this war were hard-earned, and they vowed not to forget them. No longer would the Kirin Tor isolate itself in a lofty floating city or cling to prideful notions of neutrality while the world suffered. Instead, they would humble themselves, abolish secretive councils, and ground their efforts in the peoples of Azeroth. Jaina fully endorsed this new path. She openly acknowledged that the Kirin Tor's past arrogance had contributed to the calamity. After all, if the Council had destroyed the mana bomb research when they should have, Dalaran might still stand. This bomb should not have been built. Kirin Tor leadership is to blame. We are all complicit and must atone for it, Jaina declared, her words weighted with regret and resolve. Under Jaina's guidance, the survivors set about preserving what arcane knowledge could be saved, preserve the legacy, as Jaina poignantly named the task, while ensuring dangerous artifacts like the mana bomb would never imperil Azeroth again. In this way, the war within saw Jaina Proudmoore come full circle, facing the darkness of the void while embracing the light of unity and wisdom. Through harrowing trials, she reaffirmed her place as one of Azeroth's greatest protectors, leading with compassion, strength, and the hard-won understanding that only together can Azeroth survive. Few individuals in Azeroth's history have borne as many titles or as much responsibility as Lady Jaina Proudmoore. She is widely regarded as one of the finest mages of her age, in fact, the most powerful human sorceress alive, according to scholars. Over the years, Jaina has held leadership roles that span the breadth of her world struggles. Ruler of Theramore, one-time leader of the Kirin Tor of Dalaran, and Lord Admiral of Tiras. As the daughter of Grand Admiral Jaina Proudmoore, Jaina was raised with the weight of naval legacy on her shoulders, yet she chose the path of a mage and a diplomat, seeking peace even during the ravages of the Third War. Her early decision to ally with Thrall's horde against the Burning Legion, defying her father's prejudice, set the tone for a life defined by courageous choices and a desire for unity. Throughout history, Jaina has been at the center of pivotal events, from the fall of Lordaeron and the Battle of Mount Hyjal to the scourge of Arthas Menethil and the wars against Deathwing, Garrosh, the Burning Legion, and beyond. Time and again she has stood on the front lines against darkness, her legendary staff in hand, fighting not only with spells, but with a fierce belief in the ideals of the Alliance and the hope for a peaceful future. Jaina's journey has not been without its dark chapters. The trauma of Theramore's destruction, when the Horde's mana bomb obliterated her city, forever changed her, turning her once golden hair to stark white and infusing her with a grief-fueled wrath. In the aftermath, Jaina nearly lost herself to rage, venting her pain in the Purge of Dalaran against those she felt betrayed her. Yet even at her most bitter, the spark of her true self was never fully extinguished. Over time, Jaina confronted her anger and guilt, notably reconciling with King Varian Rin and later with the Horde leaders she once swore to defeat. The battle for Azeroth expansion saw Jaina return to her homeland of Tiras, where she faced the ghosts of her past and her mother's disapproval. By atoning for her perceived treason, her role in Daelin's death, and saving Tiras from insurrection, Jaina earned forgiveness and reclaimed her family's trust. Lady Catherine Proudmoore ceded the title of Lord Admiral to Jaina, who in turn repledged Tiras to the Alliance during the Fourth War. This homecoming marked Jaina's personal healing. She accepted her father's legacy while upholding her own values of cooperation between nations. Jaina's resilience in rediscovering herself, even after enduring profound loss, added a new depth to her legacy. No longer was she simply the idealistic girl from Theramore or the vengeful sorceress of Dalaran. She emerged as a wiser leader who understood both the price of war and the necessity of forgiveness and hope. Now, with the events of the War Within, Jaina Proudmoore's story continues to evolve, reinforcing her enduring importance in Azeroth. It is a testament to Jaina's growth that despite all the bitterness and bloodshed of past wars, she can again fight side by side with Thrall in common cause, proving that her commitment to Azeroth's safety transcends faction boundaries. In rallying leaders to the summit at Borealis and preventing a renewed Horde Alliance massacre in Arathi, Jaina demonstrated the full measure of her leadership. She used diplomacy, empathy, and when needed, her formidable magic to ensure Azeroth's defenders stayed focused on the true enemy. Her actions during the War Within saved countless lives and might well have saved the world. Moreover, Jaina showed humility and accountability in the war's aftermath, openly acknowledging the Kirin Tor's past mistakes and pledging to atone and do better. This capacity for self-reflection in a hero of her stature is part of what makes her legacy so compelling. Jaina has become a figure who not only wields great power, but also great wisdom, earned through heartbreak and hard experience. Her mastery of sorcery is matched only by her depth of compassion for her people. This balance of strength and empathy is perhaps Jaina's greatest legacy. She exemplifies the idea that a true leader's power lies not just in magic or armies, but in the courage to uphold what is right, even when tested by unimaginable tragedy. As the curtains close on this chapter of history, Lady Jaina Proudmoore's legacy stands tall. She has secured her place as one of Azeroth's greatest heroes, a leader who has weathered the storm, quite literally as the daughter of the sea, and emerged more resolute than ever. And importantly, her story is not yet finished. The War Within showed that Jaina will continue to play a pivotal role in shaping Azeroth's future. Whether it's battling the void, rebuilding what was lost, or mentoring the next generation of heroes, Jaina's presence ensures that the lessons of the past inform the hope of the future. In the end, the legacy of the Lady Proudmoore is a living one, a legacy of unity in the face of division, of light overcoming shadow, and of an unwavering dedication to peace and justice. Jaina Proudmoore will be remembered not only for her titles and achievements, but for her indomitable spirit, a true Proudmoore, the daughter of the sea, and a true hero of Azeroth.